Hi. Having been an avid Moody blues collector for several decades, I thought you may like to browse part of my collection, with many unique items which have never been shown before. Along the way, we'll see items from earlier bands that the Moodies members have been involved with. So sit back and enjoy this trip through the Moodies history. Page 1 starts with a number of early gig tickets and band business cards including Denny Laine and the Diplomats, Jerry Levine and the Avengers, with Graham on drums, the Rocking Tuxedos, with Mike Pinder, the Saints and Sinners, with Ray Thomas on his coffin-shaped bass. Then El Riot and the Rebels that featured both Ray and John. Some more business cards for El Riot and the Rebels plus a couple of Justin's bands, The Whispers, and All Things Bright. Next, a 1961 flyer from Birmingham Town Hall featuring Mike Pinder, in Billy Saunders and the Tuxedos. Here's my unreleased acetate recorded by this band at Hollick and Taylor in Handsworth. Here's a rare program from a 1959 show by Danny King and the Dukes, performing between striptease acts, with the Moodies' original bass player Clint Warwick. A couple of photos of El Riot and the Rebels, signed by Ray Thomas and John Lodge, together with rhythm guitarist Mike Hurd and drummer Rob Sheward. Next, a couple of really rare items. A photo of El Riot and the Rebels standing with rocker, Johnny Kidd. I got Ray and John to sign this as El Riot and Johnny C. Storm. Below is a photo of Justin in the production of The Boy in Blue Jeans whilst he played the summer season for Stage Ventures, at Lyme Regis Marine Theatre in 1960. Here's another Birmingham Town Hall flyer, this one is for El Riot and the Rebels from January 1962. And another, from the same show, this time in orange. My final El Riot flyer, this one is from the Big Beat and Twist night held in February 1962. With expectations of an imminent record release, a promo postcard was issued for Denny Laine and the Diplomats. This one is fully signed, with drummer Bev Bevan adopting the name Bev Ralston at the time. Bev, of course, went on to huge fame in the Electric Light Orchestra. Here's a vintage photo of the band. Next up, we have a printed photo of Jerry Levine and the Avengers, that I got signed in the early 2000s. Just before Graham left the band to form the Moodies, they appeared on the bill supporting American legend Jerry Lee Lewis. Here's the sheet music to their one and only record, issued on Decca, a cover of the track, Dr. Feelgood. During 1960, Justin Hayward and his band The Offbeats were invited once again by Stage Ventures, this time in Jersey and the Channel Islands, where they played in several different shows including Bustles to Beatniks and Cool for Cats. In the early 2000s I became good friends with Clint Warwick. Here's a photo he signed for me of him in the Dukes. In March 1964 John joined Mark Stewart and the Cresters, with Brian Yates taking the lead role. This band, now with fellow El Rioter, Mike Hurd, became the John Bulbreed, who had their cover of Ike and Tina Turner's Can't Chance a Breakup released on Polydor in 1966. A great promo film was also shot at a traveling fairground. New baritone makes me sing. I've been loving you too long. I've been needing you too long. I've been wanting you too long. In 1965, Justin hit the big time, joining Marty Wilde and his wife Joyce as part of the Marty Wilde Trio, later known as the Wild Three, guesting in Lonnie Donegan's summer season for a few weeks at Great Yarmouth's Royal Aquarium Theatre. Whilst the program wasn't updated to include them, here's a rare ticket for one of their performances. It was during this period with Marty Wilde that Lonnie had agreed to sign up the fledgling Hayward, although there is a lot more to the story than is popularly recorded. On the 8th of April 1965, Marty Wilde and his trio performed at the London Palladium alongside a host of stars of the day. This press release from September 1965 promotes the Wild Three's second 45 record, I Cried. In the 60s and 70s, record labels published regular lists of new releases. Here's the pie release sheet for Justin's first solo, London Is Behind Me. Here is the incredibly rare US copy of London Is Behind Me, on the Red Bird label. One of my greatest treasures. Justin's second solo record, released in August 1966 on Parlophone, was called I Can't Face the World Without You. Coincidentally the title of a popular Bonzo the Dog postcard and, amazingly similar to the title of the Moodies' 1965 hit, I Don't Want to Go On Without You. Here is the promo sheet for Justin's 45. It's widely claimed that the Moodies were formed on May 2, 1964. It's my belief that several members were in the audience that night at the Birmingham Town Hall to witness the American folk, blues and gospel caravan. Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee's If You Lose Your Money was covered by the band, becoming their first official release in September 1964. Rehearsing and playing at Erdington's Carlton Club, this amazing Moody Blues 5 poster was taken from the door of one of their early performances and they got it signed by the band. Interestingly, Ray was still using his L. Riot stage name, with Mike Hans Pinder and Clint Whiskers Warwick. The Moody Blues 5 were booked to feature in Birmingham Town Hall's Festival of Entertainments, on the 11th of September 1964. Planned well in advance, by the time of this show, the band had been signed up by new management, Rich Pride, and were living in London. On the 24th of July 1964, the band recorded a number of demos at Olympic Studios in Barnes, presumably to seek a recording deal with one of the big labels. This 4-track acetate from that session includes the track, You Better Move On, remaining unreleased until I provided it for use on the Classic Artists DVD and CD in 2008. One of the Rich Pride managers, Alex Murray, aka Alex Wharton, had been a member of the popular duo The Most Brothers, with Mickey Most, going on to much greater fame. With the Moodies' first release ready to hit the shops, invitations were sent out to the launch party, with manager Tony Secunda masterminding the first of many stunts attracting the attention of the press, this one involving some invitations being sent out together with a boxed homing pigeon. A novel prepaid return method if ever I heard of one. Here is the acetate for the first release, Steal Your Heart Away, backed by Lose Your Money. And the rare promotional poster for this disc. With Ray, Mike, Graham and Denny sharing a house in Rodine Crescent, Roehampton, all the big acts of the day descended on them for their infamous parties. Rich Pride's Simon Miller Mundy arranged for the band to obtain new instruments. This payment card shows the purchase of a guitar and case from Maples, London, in September 1964, finally being paid off in October 1965. In June 1965, Rich Pride financed the purchase of a Rudel Cart Romilly flute for Ray, and a new Rickenbacker guitar for Denny from Jones and Crossland in Birmingham. Here is the original hire purchase agreement from October 1965 from Maples, for Mike's Bentley piano, costing £155 and 10 shillings. Rich Pride's offices maintained detailed accounts of the shows the band performed, together with the respective fees. This page is the first of many months' accounts, showing the very earliest engagements from September 1964. In 1965, the band were preparing to perform shows in Mönchengladbach and Cologne, Germany, with each member being required to complete the visa application form. This set of forms was completed by management ready for them to copy. Interestingly, Ray and Mike show their previous visit to Germany as part of the crew Cats, from the 2nd of November 1963 to the 5th of December. Next, we come on to a number of really early gig contracts, this first one completed on the 10th of September 1964, for shows at the Crawdaddy, Richmond, starting on 18th of September. This one was signed by Alex Wharton and has a fee of £20. By November 1964, the band were back in the Midlands, playing at the Walsall Casino Club for £50. This next contract is an important one, being the contract to play on the Chuck Berry Tour between 8th and the 31st of January 1965, during which they would have their #1 record, Go Now. Their fee was £275 per week. Mid-tour, the band called into the BBC television studio to record Top of the Pops. With the fame of a #1 record, bookings came thick and fast and, their fee for a couple of gigs back in Birmingham on the 28th of March 1965 was now £350. This contract, with corresponding ticket, is for the Civic Hall in Wolverhampton on the 2nd of May 1965, not far from their Birmingham roots. Again in the Midlands, this contract is for the Adelphi Ballroom West Bromwich on the 16th of May 1965. An unusual contract here is for Spain, the Palacio de Deportes in Barcelona on the 27th of May 1965. An early photoshoot all gathered around an ornate staircase. Here's a promo photo that's been fully signed by the band. A visit to the British Museum provided a number of memorable shots. Another photoshoot for From the Bottom of My Heart, around the railway tracks produced this famous image. A common marketing tool used by record companies back then was to produce promotional postcards. Here are the postcards for Steal Your Heart Away and Go Now. Here are a couple more promotional postcards. Upon the release of their first LP, The Magnificent Moodies, Decca sent out a number of promo copies to prominent DJs and journalists. This letter to John Fenton at Ridge Pride lists the recipients. An internal Decca note confirms the running order of the British LP, The Magnificent Moodies. Here is a rare acetate of the British LP. And here is the Sparta Florida gold disc for the Magnificent Moodies album. Other Sparta Florida awards include Days of Future Past, In Search of the Lost Chord, and To Our Children's Children's Children. Here is my copy of the US Go Now album. I got it signed by all three Moodies bass players, Clint Warwick, Rod Clark and John Lodge. My research has traced the source of the title of their first album. The Magnificent Moodies was a short-run play written by Ted Willis, starring Leslie Phillips, Bill Owen, Alfie Bass and Warren Mitchell, performed at the Embassy Theatre, Swiss Cottage in 1952. This title was again used as the headline to an article in Disc Weekly on the 23rd of January 1965 upon Go Now reaching #1. Here is a letter from Decca's Dick Rowe to John Fenton, inviting him to play the band's new record on 21st of September or the 2nd of October 1965. I believe this was their track, Every Day, which was officially released on 21st of September. Here's a few odds and ends, starting with a business card for Tim Hudson, the guy that initially discovered the band on a trip to Birmingham, recommending them to the guys at Ridge Pride. Clockwise we have one of the earliest fan club membership cards, this one number 282. Next, a beer mat from Mitchell's and Butler's, the M&B logo being used in the Early's Moody Blues 5 Days. This is followed by a ticket for a show on the 7th of June 1965 supporting Tom Jones in Scarborough. Next is an early collector's trading card. The orange ticket is for a gig at the ABC Cinema Ardwick on the 7th of December 1965, as part of the Beatles tour. Incidentally, this is the night that the Moodies have been reported to have encountered a UFO on their late-night drive back home. A few more tickets now, with the 5th National Jazz and Blues Festival held at Richmond held from the 6th to the 8th of August 1965. The Moodies performed on Friday the 6th, together with the Yardbirds and The Who. Here's a poster for that festival. Next, we have afternoon and evening tickets for the Record Star show held at the Empire Pool, Wembley, on April 3, 1966. This is a letter sent to Simon Miller Mundy regarding 3 flats occupied by the band in Lancaster Gate in London. Here we have some blank stationery with the fan club letterhead. Also, although not mentioned within, here is a program for the football match held between Walsall and Mansfield Town on the 26th of December 1964, with the Moodies providing pre-kickoff entertainment. Here we have a flyer for a gig held on the 1st of October 1966 at the Spa Royal Hall, Bridlington. It's not clear if this show went ahead, as this is the date reported as when Denny Lane quit the band. An early shot of the Denny Lane era lineup performing on stage. At the top is a ticket from November 21, 1965, supporting the Walker Brothers. Below are a couple of tickets from Wolverhampton, on 28 January 1965, as part of the Chuck Berry Tour. Here is a flyer from that same tour. Moving on to September 1966, the Moodies, now with Rod Clark in place of Clint Warwick, took part in the swinging pop show along with Jerry and the Pacemakers at the Capitol Theatre, Cardiff. At the top is a ticket for a show at the Naked Lunch, held at the Hotel Leofric in Coventry on 7 December 1967. Below is another record release sheet, this time promoting Boulevard de la Madeleine. At the bottom is a postcard from Mouscron, Belgium, sent from around the time the band was staying in the area. Justin crossed paths with Lonnie Donegan once again when the Moodies played the Princess Theatre in Torquay in May 1967. Next, a postcard issued for Fly Me High, with a nice early set of signatures of the Hayward Lodge lineup. More postcards, this one from Belgium upon the release of Nights in White Satin, and Days of Future Past. Below is the postcard issued for Voices in the Sky. Here is my copy of the US Go Now album. I got it signed by all three Moodies bass players, Clint Warwick, Rod Clark and John Lodge. Another contract now, this one for a February 1968 show in Kirklevington in North Yorkshire. Here is a programme and tickets for a show at Cliffs Pavilion, Southend on 19 October 1967. This page has a few autographs of people connected to the band, starting with DJ David Simmons. Simmons had championed the band for many years, on occasion providing introductions at live shows. He later added vocals on Reflective Smile from the Long Distance Voyager album. Center is a signature from Hal Shaper. Probably more famous for Matt Monroe's recording of Softly As I Leave You, Shaper ran the Sparta, Florida Music Publishing Company, signing both Denny Lane and Mike Pinder to the books. Finally, Justin's good friend Lionel Bart, following the massive success of the Oliver soundtrack, Bart penned another suite based on Gulliver's Travels, with Justin contributing on 4 of the songs. These finally got a release on the Genius of Lionel Bart CD box set, in 2012. Here's a program and menu for a performance at the Union Ball on 9 February 1968, alongside the Jeff Beck Group. Below is a ticket for a show held at Sheffield University on 4 May 1968. This page shows a flyer for the USA Fillmore East shows held on 25 and 26 October 1968, followed by a ticket for the Fillmore West show for Friday 22 November, the second of 4 dates. Here we have the postcard stroke flyer for those shows, looking identical to the larger poster. Still over in the US, Sunday November 17 saw them play at the Grand Ballroom in Detroit, along with fellow Brummies The Move. This next ticket is from a special gig for the band which took place at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London on 29 June 1968. This performance went down particularly well, with quite a lot of press coverage. Here's Graham's drumskin that he used that night, rescued from the skip after the beating it clearly took. The lucky recipient got 'em all to sign it at the after-show party. Here's a ticket from 1971 where they were supported by Hot Legs, who would go on to great success under the name of 10cc. June 1970 saw the troubled Bath Festival of Music at Shepton Mallet. Torrential rain meant that the Moodies were unable to play. The ticket is rather unusual as the vast majority you will see were torn in half, this being a rare complete survivor. Next we have a rare 1969 mini poster promoting the new album, On the Threshold of a Dream, with great new images similar to Phil Travers' beautiful cover art. Still on the university and college circuit, the ticket at the top is from their gig at Salford University on Friday 19 June 1970. Here's also the poster for that show. The tickets below are for the Moodies' first appearance at the Isle of Wight Festival, these being the 1969 shows. The Moodies performed on Saturday 30 August. Here's a Decca record release sheet from October 1969, this time advertising, Watching and Waiting, on the new Threshold label. Another contract now, this one for Kleinen's Music Hall in Buffalo, New York on the 28th of November 1969. Accompanying that contract is the rider, setting out a small number of requirements and conditions. A Manchester ticket now, from December 1969, where they were supported by a band they'd signed to their Threshold label, Trapeze. Featuring Glenn Hughes that had later success with Deep Purple. Below is a French photo brochure, one of a series featuring various artists. Here is a psychedelic Decca promotional poster, for some reason reading, Counter-Dimensional Sounds. Back over to Fillmore East, the flyer for the subsequently cancelled shows arranged for early March 1970. Summer 1970 saw the legendary Isle of Wight Festival, with the Moodies playing that wonderful set as the sun went down on Sunday evening. This is the special full 3-day ticket. It was touch and go until close to the date whether the Moodies would actually attend. And the ticket sold just for the Sunday. Here's an iconic first print poster for the festival, designed by David Rowe. These are getting harder to come by. December 1970 saw the band perform at the St. Louis Arena, as shown on this flyer. Moving on to October 1973, here's a Manchester Free Trade Hall ticket from the autumn tour which included sets by fellow Brummie, Nicky James. Below that is a nice ticket from their first show in Honolulu on the 27th of January 1974. At the bottom are a couple of promotional stickers produced for the autumn 1973 tour. 1974 saw a brief tour of Japan, this ticket from the first night of the tour at the Tokyo Budokan on the 18th of January. Then, the next night at Nagoya. After a couple more shows, we have the final show held at Osaka on the 23rd of January. Here's some unreleased 8mm film that was shot by a member of the audience at Nagoya, on the 19th of January. A few Blue Jays items now, with a ticket from Brunel University on the 6th of December, and below that, from Ardwick, Manchester on the 19th of November. At the bottom is a rare ticket from the world premiere playback of the Blue Jays LP at the Carnegie Hall in New York on March 10, 1975. More details are shown on this news sheet announcing the event. In preparation for the forthcoming, Out of This World, tour program, this letter was sent out by the Moodies tour manager, listing the various equipment and companies helping with the tour. Next, we have a letter written by Justin to Mike, enclosing a promo copy of the new, I Know You're Out There Somewhere, CD. Another rider now, this time from 1991 for a gig at the Sun Dome in Tampa, Florida on the 25th of August. Now stretching to nearly 20 pages, it's interesting to note the food requirements for Sundays. Must be lamb today, 'cause beef was last week. A few more important tickets now, the top one from the Wembley show on the 29th of November 1984, recorded and shortly afterwards, broadcast on TV. Center is a ticket for the Fabulous Red Rocks show with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra on September 9, 1992, again, filmed and released on DVD. Lastly on this page, we have a ticket from the Royal Albert Hall show held on the 19th of May 2002, this was also filmed and released on DVD as The Hall of Fame. Next, we have a ticket for John's 10,000 Light Years show at Birmingham Town Hall on the 30th of September 2016, this was released on DVD shortly afterwards. This is followed by a ticket for a special event, this time at Birmingham Symphony Hall. Hosted by comedian Jasper Carrott, amongst a host of artists, awards were presented to both John Lodge and ELP's Carl Palmer to commemorate them being selected for a star to be laid on Broad Street's Walk of Stars. Lastly, we have tickets for the opening ceremony of the 1990 Goodwill Games held in Seattle in July where the Moodies performed to an audience of millions across the globe. This is also notable as Gordie Marshall's first show with the band. Next up, a ticket from the Birmingham Heartbeat concert that took place in March 1986 with a host of Midlands talent including Denny Lane, Roy Wood, ELO, Noddy Holder, Robert Plant and UB40. George Harrison joined all the artists on stage for the finale of Johnny Be Good. This show was recorded and televised, though was never commercially sold on video. To the right, we have a rare ticket from Justin's exclusive Moody Blue Box show held in aid of charity on the 12th of October 1991. My fan club card takes centre place, and below this, is a ticket from the exclusive show held at Canterbury Cathedral on December 10, 2011. Organised by Jethro Tull's Ian Anderson, the show also featured Justin Hayward and the amazing Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. Being lucky enough to get on the front row, a lot of the lucky audience were positioned way back and around corners. Still, I'm sure they all treasure the memories of that night. The ticket does say that video cameras were not permitted, which I must not have noticed. You can see my videos of Justin and Bruce on my YouTube channel. In 1996, I was fortunate enough to be selected to attend the Christmas party held just across from their offices in Cobham. Here's my golden ticket to that event. At the bottom is a ticket for Justin's charity performance held at the apartment in Swindon in October 2005. This show was broadcast live on BBC Radio Wiltshire. Here's the mini poster for that same event. I managed to nab the set list that Justin used on the stage. Interesting that he chose to add the track No Regrets after this was written. A video of this is also on my YouTube channel. During the 90s, the fan club sent out Christmas cards to all members. This one was designed by band favourite Phil Travers. Here's some of Justin and John's pics that I've obtained over the years. Back in 1999, I registered this Justin Hayward domain name to stop it being misused, arranging to give it to Justin when I met him backstage at the Albert Hall in 2002. On the 12th of April 2006, Jeff Wayne let a few lucky fans attend the dress rehearsal of the War of the Worlds live show at Bournemouth BIC, 3 days before the first official public date. Jeff signed my copy of the CD/DVD box set, together with Chris Spedding. In 2015, the Moodies made it to Glastonbury, headlining the acoustic stage on Saturday 27th. Here's a pass from that show. Back to 1993, and astronaut Robert Hoot Gibson took his Days of Future Past cassette for the fourth time aboard his space shuttle missions in Challenger, Columbia, Atlantis and Endeavour, traveling over 10 million miles. To mark the occasion, Gibson presented the band with a tape set in a commemorative plaque, as described in this press release. A version of this tape was included in a few special edition copies of the 17-disc, Timeless Flight box set issued in 2013. Here is a mega-rare program from a gig they performed in France in 1968, alongside Noel Deschamps. April 14, 2018 marks the date that the Moodies were finally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Here is the induction ceremony program. Alongside the Moodies were Bon Jovi, The Cars and Dire Straits. With posthumous inductions for Nina Simone and Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Finally, we come on to the final Moody Blues shows, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Days of Future Past. The band were resident at Wynn Las Vegas from the 19th of September to October 6, 2018. This ticket is from the 5th of October. Just one more show was given after this residency, at Wine Divine in La Jolla, California in November, bringing the long career of the Moody Blues, as a band, to an end.